Yo, what's going on? This is the NRW Nerds Rule the World. It's your boy, Kuya P, aka Patrick Michael Strange, the Adobro, the Babinka Boy, the leader of the Hala Hala Homies and the Center Gang of the ShoPowSho. We are back again. And as always, has been this past year, Cataphoric, one of our amazing ates, is still in Japan teaching. She extended out. I think she's probably going to extend again. She's loving life in Japan and teaching over there. So all the love to her. And whenever we can, she always has the open invitation to come back and join the squad. And Tina, Viva Valentina, is still, I think, in the process of the move. She was going to join us today. But she's so busy, doing stuffy spa stuff. But really, I think in the midst of this whole move from Virginia Beach to her new location, and I don't want to give away the location because I don't know if there's crazies out there, and she can do that herself. I don't want to get blamed for be like, hey, Patrick, now I got stalkers on me. What's up with that? That's not cool. So I want to be in her good graces. So all the love to Viva Valentina as well as Cataphoric. But we got a brand new episode of ShoPowSho, y'all. This one is going to be a lot of fun. I was really hype when I saw her work. It's called Who Turned on the Sky. It's still being funded right now on Kickstarter. You can get your copy of this amazing new children's book that deals with Filipino mythologies. I love it. The artwork is amazing. The story is amazing. You're getting all of that cultural elements that that's what I'm all about. And so I had to talk to her and find out her story and learn what she's going to do with that creative juices and energy. If there's going to be more after Who Turned on the Sky, and just get her story. Cause I love us, as y'all know, I love us and getting that background and how we find our way into expending that energy and that talent to share with the world is just so amazing. So let me not talk any longer. Let me bring her on. Let me remove myself from just me being on the screen so you can see her. There she is. Hopefully I am not going to brutalize the name. Marielle Atanacio.
Yep.
There we go. I
Man,
made
you got
it.
me hyped.
Hey, and I'm gonna shoot off air horns right now. Here we go. Air horns popping off. It's on post, so you don't go dead right now. But thank you, Salamat po for joining me today. How are you?
Pretty good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Definitely, man. So, I love the energy. You're coming with a children's book for the next generation. That's so beautiful, so amazing. I love it. I just love that vibe, and seeing a little bit about you, which we're going to get into, is very interesting. So I'm ready to take you on this journey, people, and hopefully have her share her journey. So Marielle, you know how I do because you've seen the show. You know what's up. Let's get it popping. Let's do that Filipino Barbara Walters on you. Let's learn all about you. But as you know, so you've seen the show. We love to give back. We wouldn't be here without the amazing energy and sacrifice that those that paved the way for us to be here did for us. I'm talking about our parents, our grandparents, our aunties, uncles, everybody that came before. And what I also like to do, because from that, what we do now, we've inherited from them. So I'm curious if that is in the genes, in the bloodline, in the DNA. So let's show some love to them. If you can tell me a little bit about your parents, grandparents, ancestors, wherever you want to start before we go into your story.
Yeah. Well, so I was born in Manila and I moved to the Bay Area when I was young, but my on my dad's side, my grandfather was a veteran in World War II. And the way he met my grandma was because of World War II. She was from the Visayas, so um back then the Japanese occupation, right? She's the eldest sister. So to escape the Japanese, she shaved her head and the heads of her sisters and her siblings and stuff so they wouldn't get, raped, attacked, and they just fled. And
Wow.
so, and she's like, I'm 5 feet tall. She's like slightly shorter. So for her to do that, like, so much power. And
Hell
then
yeah.
on my mom's side, uh, I'm Ilocano and Tagalog on my mom's side, and Tagalog Visayan on my dad's. And my grandma, who is my only living grandparent today,
Mm.
she She pretty much was raised by a single mother. Her husband had died, leaving her with like five daughters, and she raised them, put them through school. Um, some of us are here, some of them are there, some of them are in Norway, some of them are in the DMV area, and yeah, just a lot of woman power. Just
Love
come from
that.
a strong matriarchy.
Amazing. I love
Yeah,
that. I
yeah.
love that. And it's so sad. I just, you know, it's hard to imagine, right? They're struggling what they did to do that, that sacrifice for us to be here.
Yeah.
It's sad, but it's also, you know, wow, that courage and that strength is amazing. Do you know? So, like going back to that, you know, that also that ode to why we talk about them is what they wanted to do or what they were doing. Did you know if any of them had what were their hopes and dreams and creativity before, you know, the obvious sacrifice that they did for us to get here? But like, what were they into? You know, like what that kind of vibe and energy.
I haven't met my grandfather on my mom's side. His name was Jose. All I know is so he was a seaman, and he would like travel around the world, and he would bring back like coins, little artifacts and stuff that he would pick up around the world. And my mom still has his coin collection. And I knew he loved history, he loved music. They said he was like the one in the street with his like tight jeans, white shirt, like sleeve rolled
Yeah,
up,
that
cigarettes right
classic
here,
look.
Adidas. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That classic look. And everyone talks about him like just this like really nice guy. And just my mom used to tell me that he would do her history homework. And I was like, oh, that's probably where I get that. My grandma, luckily, I was able to be with my grandma and grandpa for a while on my dad's side, and I know that my grandma just she was a creative person. I didn't know what they wanted to be when they grew up or anything like that, but she was super. Every time I was in her house, she had like all these crafts set up for us. We were always
Wow.
making Rice Krispies. She had like this. She used, the sticky rice for glue. So
Oh
we
yeah, yeah, yeah.
would Yeah, we would
Oh,
make like little things for every holiday and just like cut things out, color them or whatever. So yeah,
beautiful. I love it. It runs in the DNA. It's in the blood.
yeah.
Okay, so you said you were born in Manila or born here?
I was born in Manila and
Okay.
then moved here when I was
Uh,
younger, about like 4 or 5.
okay. So any memories at all?
A lot, a lot.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, a lot. Everyone always my mom always talks about me like I'm this person that just like has all these crazy memories, and I'm like, why do you remember that? Like I remember I had this great grandpa who would put this like lighter, a flame in his mouth and just like do magic. And I remember like people going to the house and like them putting plants all over their bodies to help them heal.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I remember being, can I swear?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
I'm
I
former
remember being,
military, so every now and then it
okay.
slips.
Okay. I remember being scared shitless at Halloween
Yeah,
because everyone was like, they go all out with the makeup and everything there. And I
yeah,
remember just like being holed up upstairs in the room looking at this crazy block party happening of
yeah.
like zombies and
Oh yeah. I've seen them on.
everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Wow.
remember being scared. I remember some of the fiestas we would have down the street, and all the kids were a part of it. So we would wear like these crazy I remember them putting like this crazy headpiece on me
Oh
and
wow.
doing my makeup, and I was not having it. I'm not.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Wild.
like Christmas, amazing, the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah.
Creating paroles and all that kind of stuff too.
Oh, creating that, but like we used to have this float. Santa would be on
Oh
this
yeah,
float going
yeah.
down our street, just throwing candy. And where we lived, it was my whole family on that same street, and then the street parallel to that. So we just run from cousin house to cousin house to cousin house, and just like picking up all the candy.
I love that.
Yeah, and I
That's
remember
dope.
coming
That's
here.
dope. So come around about 4 or 5, they decided to move to the US. So I'm assuming like all of us, you know, better life, better opportunity. What was
Yeah.
that like? Do you well, again, you remember stuff. So do you recall that, or as you got older, what was explained to you why that move, and would you recall like that transition and like, oh, I'm here and now I'm here in this crazy new place? Was that difficult, and or did your parents tell you how difficult it was for you to make that transition and understanding?
So what my parents told me of the move was, so it's me and my brother, and I have two half brothers from my dad's previous marriage, but my dad was already in America and he was a citizen, and me and my brother were in the Philippines, but when we were younger, this volcano erupted, Mount Pinatubo,
Yeah.
and a whole bunch of ash. This is what they told me. A whole bunch of ash came into our house, and just me and him were sick, and we were in and out of the hospital anyway. But my brother has really bad asthma, so
Mm.
they decided at when he was 2 years old, which made me one. So I don't really remember this part, but when he was two, he actually went to the U.S. with my dad first, and my mom would tell me all the time like how depressed she was about it, but um, um, I was pretty much the only thing that kept her sane because she still had to take
Wow.
care of me.
Yeah.
And then I remember him being back in the Philippines with me, him speaking English and like thinking, oh man, he's so cool. I got a cool older, I had
I
a
love
cool older
that.
brother. Look at all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then we all went over there, and the stigma in the Philippines is that um when you have a parent who's an American citizen or who's American, um, you're probably rich. And so I had that stigma growing up too, because I
Yeah.
know like people would send us stuff. But then when we got there,
Yeah.
uh, he had like this broken bucket of a car. And I was like, that's not my dad's car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
crazy.
that was like my first thing. And I remember looking out of the window of the airplane thinking, asking if it was Christmas because there's all these lights in San Francisco. And
Wow.
yeah, and
Man, yeah, it's
it was
wild when you
wild.
know that there's that one perception. There's a perception of from there, and then there's perception here, and then the real reality once you're now fully engulfed into it. Oh, I love that kind of description of you thinking it's Christmas lights. When it's yeah, you're coming into the new area and all that. So let's talk about 4 to 5. You know, you're 4 or 5 when you came. Uh, from that age to about 10 before you like really start going to school and just growing up and uh I'm an American now. This is supposed to be awesome, but the harsh reality is, yeah, it's not the same. It's a different kind of lifestyle, and it's that you know you don't know English. I would assume all completely yet, right? You got to transition, you got to
You know what?
adapt, but then there's also that cultural love. I'm still Filipino at heart, and then this whole colonization aspect that that's even deeper that we know as older Filipinos now, but like you don't know at that time and just all of that. So talk to me about between 4 and 5, 10, and just assimilating into this new life.
Yeah, I mean, um, the education system in the Philippines, they really ingrain English. So I did like know some, and my mom told me the moment we got there, I tried to only speak English. Luckily, I was able to retain my Tagalog because of my grandparents. But I remember thinking like because when I moved, we went to Daly City, so there's a lot of Filipinos, but like amongst my peers, I was the only Filipino I knew that came from the Philippines, or at least like because I didn't talk about it, so other people might not have talked about it.
Yeah.
But I just remember thinking like, oh man, like they get to buy lunch. I have to bring my baon. I was come home. Hey mom, can I go buy lunch? Or like hey, there's this festival going on. Let's go. And like I don't know what this is for, but we're making things about it in school. And
Yeah.
um yeah, it's just crazy. But there was like once I got older, older elementary, I mean,
Yeah.
I did I was pretty aware of like this. Maybe I wasn't aware, but I knew I was kind of trying to hide
Yeah.
my connection to the land. I think like because I was amongst so many Filipino Americans
Yeah. And there
who
would
were,
that whole fob dynamic, the fresh off the boat.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like I'm trying to like distance myself from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I remember like just not really telling people I was born in the Philippines.
So like having it, you started to develop self-hate, right? It was like
Oh
a
yeah, for sure.
by our own people, which is just the worst and sad,
Yeah.
but that was
But
the cultural reality
yeah,
of
and
it
at the
all.
same time clinging on to like the closest image I could find, like Pocahontas, Princess Jasmine, Mulan, like, you know, any brown girl I could find. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, these are my favorite cartoons now. But
Mm, it
yeah,
hurts, man.
it hurts a
It
little bit.
hurts.
But
But
like,
but I'm happy that you're talking about it. And I'm thankful you are because well, as a Filipino boy, a man, well, back then a boy, you know, there really wasn't like anything for us to look at. We didn't there wasn't very many male figures, but then, as a female, it had some of those that you mentioned, but then really, there's that terrible thing that we as Filipinos do where we pride the boys over the women, that is harsh and terrible. And speaking on from my perspective as a male, it's terrible, and it's just sad. It's just sad. And a lot of it we do ourselves to us. Not only are we getting it from white people and other races, but just that additional hate that we stack on within our own group is just terrible.
oh, for
But I'm happy we're sharing it because those that are going through it or have experienced it can know that we can make it even brighter on the other end of things, and we take these realities and we share them so that way we don't repeat them going forward and into the future. So thank you, Marielle, for sharing. So let's talk about, the positives in that time and as we get into school years. So obviously, it's sad and we're going through it, but what did you do to what made you happy? Were there any very early indicators of what you would do later in that time period of creativity? That you
oh
did you get into like art in that time frame,
yeah,
or like what
oh
what made you
yeah.
happy between those
Oh,
times?
Sailor Moon.
Hey,
And
there we go.
drawing, I remember I used to draw her in her little like crescent moon bangs, and obviously playing outside. I remember getting into TLC and it's like, who are these? Like it was
Waterfalls.
still really cool. I was just like, ooh. And then me and my friends in recess, like trying to learn the dances and
I love it.
boy bands, all of it.
Oh
All of it.
yeah.
But yeah, like art wise, it was all um yeah, Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z. I would try to draw people like band members of NSYNC. I had like a fifth grade teacher who was amazing at drawing. He's like, yeah, see what you could draw in 5 minutes. See what you
Oh,
could
dope.
draw in this. And I was like, okay.
Awesome. Did you know what you wanted to do you remember what you wanted to be at that time before going into school? What did you want
Yeah.
to be?
Well, um, I wanted to be a cartoonist. I
Oh,
wanted to
awesome.
be, yeah, I thought like, oh yeah, I used to try to make little flip books and then
Same. Oh, I love that.
yeah. Yeah, I
Yes.
used to get like my mom, she would grab a stack of post-its from wherever and like I would just like from her office and I would just try to draw one after the other and just and then there goes
Yeah.
one stack of post-its and then
Old school animation, yo. Like
Mhm.
real talk. I did like Spider-Man. So, as you can see, I
Oh
kept
yeah, yeah. I
Spider-Man
know. I would
all the way
start with
through.
like a hand and it just like do this. I was like, oh mom, look.
I love that. Yo, real talk. Amazing. So let's talk about like now getting into school and those changes, because now we're well, one, we're now becoming more American, we're becoming more colonized and assimilated, but we're also learning uh the tools and the trades that we'll take into our future. Talk to me about going into like elementary school, middle school, leading into high school, the school years of Marielle, and uh, changing, you know, becoming an early teen. What was that like for you? What do you recall getting into in that transition in your time in your life?
Middle school, I just remember like that whole, you know, that mentality of trying to fit in, trying to be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, at that time I was super into basketball.
Oh,
I,
snap.
I mean, I'm so short, but I was like in like elementary, I was like the only girl playing basketball with all the guys. And then
Yeah.
in middle school, that's when I started playing basketball for the school. And I thought I was gonna be like this. I'm gonna be in the WNBA, Dad. And my dad's like, no, you're not. And I was like, you can't crush my dream, you know?
Right.
And then like it died pretty quick when everyone had their growth spurt, and you're like, oh no.
That Filipino
So
DNA.
yeah. Yeah. So I went like I would always go back to art, always go back to like drawing, sketching. I had like all these unfinished sketchbooks like every year. And um in high school kind of the same thing until I actually had a Filipino English teacher.
Oh no.
And um it really made me pay attention to some of the books she was having us read. She opened she opened up this opportunity to join this retreat for Filipino Youth Collective, or Filipino Youth Collective, PYC.
Wow.
And after that, I was able to join one of the chapters, and kind of that's when it started. I started to get involved, and that's when I started reconnect with like my Filipino ness. That's when
Yeah.
I started to really learn like the Filipino American history
Yeah.
here in the diaspora. And then that's when I started like really getting addicted to like our culture, our
I love that.
history. After that, I was like going to all the like we would go to the Filipino festivals anyway, but that's when I started like really buying stuff from different vendors, shirts that would say like brown is beautiful, and you know. And I was like, and ever since then, I think it's just kind of like been a steady part of my life.
I love that. And I'm so jealous, y'all. I'm an East Coast Filipino. I was raised, my parents were in the military, so I was raised like literally all over the world, 4 years here, 4 years there.
Yeah.
But predominantly living on the East Coast. And because we would be traveling all the time and most of the areas weren't really Filipino, like Daly City, the
Yeah.
Bay, we didn't have what y'all have. So whenever I speak with cats, and most of the people I've had on show are from the West Coast and the Bay and Daly City, I'm just so jealous and envious because I wish I had that. And that's
Yeah.
partially why I'm doing ShoPowSho, so I can learn more about us and our people and our culture. Because I'm Filipino AF. I'm addicted to us and I love us. So I love that you all had that. Um, I think that's super dope that you had that, and just know how awesome it is to have that because cats like us didn't get that
Oh,
like
for
that.
sure.
So,
I mean, I'm still learning that now. Like in
mm,
college, I started to meet people who didn't have that,
yeah,
but I'm still learning that now. The more people I'm meeting who are like trying to get in touch with their history, and it's like,
mm,
hey, yeah, I'm in my 30s, never really got exposed to anything. Like starting this whole thing, people have hit me up randomly.
yeah, awesome, awesome. So, my question tied to that before you found yourself again in a way, you right, like
Mhm.
because you came from the Philippines, but then you got quote unquote assimilated to the culture of American culture, and then you kind of dove back into it through that amazing teacher. Who is that teacher? Let's give shout out to
Miss
that teacher.
Mac, shout out to Miss Mac. I Miss Rockefeller right now. She's still one of my biggest supporters. That's the thing.
I love that. Yo,
She's the first person who bought a painting from me. She took us to like a mural walk in the city in San Francisco. Um, yeah,
respect. I love that.
love
That's
her.
so dope. I love that. So before you were blessed with her presence and her love, um, let's go back to like, so we're in school, we've moved over, we're now learning it, American ways and all that. When do you remember the earliest, because when you're in the Philippines, you're obviously Filipino, but it's really not till I would say in most dealings I've had in conversations on here on ShoPowSho, you're now in the States, and that's where really the racism comes into play, or unless you maybe experienced it there. When did you learn, yo, I'm Filipino, I'm different? When did that strike? And if you could talk to me about that experience of that,
Yeah.
and for a lot of us, and especially those of us, like speaking for like myself in here, there was some self hate, and and then, well, actually, you spoke on a little bit of self hate too because of the whole fob dynamic that I know occurred big time in Daly City in San Francisco. But there's also that you're not Filipino enough, or you're that mixed kid. I was a mixed kid, but like, can you talk to me about that when racism kind of reared its ugly head into your youth and growing up?
Mm. Well, so I know my earliest encounter with the idea of race, and it wasn't an ugly one, but it was just like the first time I was like, hmm, I guess we are kind of different, me and you. Um, we lived in an apartment, and I must have been maybe 6. I had a friend who was my age, but she was black, and we would play together all the time. And we had this little open area in the middle of our complex that we would just hang out at. And my mom comes out and it's like, my family calls me Alma. They're like, Alma, come here. Get inside. You're gonna get dark. And I was like, all right. So I talked to my friend and I was like, hey, my mom says we gotta go inside. We're gonna get dark. And she goes, but I'm already black. And I'm like, yeah. And
Wow.
yeah, and I was like, okay. And my brother and my mom are darker, and at that same vein, we were learning about like uh Martin Luther King and Black History. We were celebrating Black History Month in February, right? And and I don't remember this, but my mom did tell me. I came home one day and I was like, "Hey, you enroll. We need to go. There's this festival that's happening. My teacher told me about. It's for you guys." And he goes, "No, that's not for us." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay."
Yeah.
Um, so it was like those were my first moments in realizing that there were these really big differences. But I think like, I mean, there were small moments in elementary and high school, or elementary and middle school, but really high school, not just with the fob dynamic, but um you started seeing like certain groups hang out together,
Mhm.
or certain people, like, high school people fight and they'll start saying some things to each other, and you're like, why? Like it just felt hateful. And so that was the first time I really encountered like people intentionally using words to hurt each other,
Yeah.
because of who they are. And then, of course, in college I'm taking all these like race theory classes and things, and it's when I really got to unpack like
Yeah.
the mentality behind it, and the history.
Wow. So let's get there. Let's get to that point. But first, I'll shout out to my beautiful Morena brothers and sisters out there. Love yourself, love your skin tone, no matter what the complexion is. It hurts. And then, but
Yeah.
it's so ingrained into Philippine culture. And
Super.
woo,
Yeah.
yeah, so difficult. Because like you talk to an auntie or our elders, right? And they'd be like, no, I wasn't racist at all. Right. Yo, you're the one telling,
Well,
and you'd
yeah,
have
and
to
then
remind
people,
them, you would say stuff like that, and they didn't think that that was racist, but it was very racist, and they don't
yeah,
acknowledge it all the way.
yeah, and some of the things, it's like, well, back home we used to just call people this and this. Well, I think there's like, I don't think it was ever right. We
Exactly.
have done it, and maybe not maliciously, but I don't think it was ever right.
Yep.
So there's also like having to acknowledge that, and then it's nice also seeing like a lot of the elders in my family starting to acknowledge that.
Yeah, I love that, and that's beautiful, dope. Because some just don't even want to have those conversations,
Yeah.
so they just want to shut it off, and then that's why the cycle continues. And so we're just gonna have to wait for your racism to die out with yourself,
Yeah,
and
yeah. We're
it
just
just
gonna wait for
sucks.
that one to water down, and
Yeah,
then we'll restart it.
so sad. But that's beautiful. Congrats that your family's doing that. So
Yeah.
let's get to this wokeness in college and then the career in this amazing book. Again, Who Turned On the Sky is available on Kickstarter right now for Marielle
Actually,
Atanacio. What up?
sorry. It's funded.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's
It's
funded.
funded. Yeah, yeah.
But
It's
if you want to get your copy,
releasing.
right, you
Yes,
can
it's
still do that.
releasing out into the wild September 14th. But yeah,
Yes,
been
love
funded.
it.
So yeah, you can get it on my site. Um, but yeah, college is insane. I went to SF
Oh,
State.
hold on. Before we get
Oh,
there,
okay, for
I
sure.
want to get to it's one of those questions we love because we know, and I'm sure you feel this, right? Arts is cool, but
Arts is so cool.
you ain't gonna go into the arts. That's a hobby. You
Oh
got to
my
be an
God.
engineer, lawyer,
Uh,
doctor.
yeah. I
What
mean,
was that
about
like
that.
as you were graduating high school? What did you want to be? What did you have in mind? But then what did your parents want you to be? And then what ended up happening and choosing the school? Talk to me about that kind of weird, because it was wild. I know you went through it.
Oh man, it's a journey. So, did you guys ever have like an assignment in high school or whatever where you had to pick like three careers and try to look them up and
Oh
then
yeah.
do a whole report? So I picked, of course, I picked an animator.
Okay.
I picked a historian, and I picked, what did I pick? I picked something practical, like a computer, I think a computer
Yo,
engineer.
I feel that.
I
That's
just
kind
was
of like
trying
how
to
I
avoid
was.
the medical field.
Okay.
Like so, and then I did meet the my Filipino teacher in high school, and it made me want to be an English teacher. So I actually went into college, SF State. I actually went into college to be an English teacher,
Okay.
and that's where I was exposed to a lot of these like mythology classes. But then I took some crazy 14th century class, and I couldn't, like, it was just not fun reading like a novel a week. And I was like, this is not for me.
Yeah.
I thought I liked this, I don't. And at the time, I was living in Vallejo, and they I met a bunch of artists at a farmers market there that were just painting live. They invited me to their studio, and I started painting with them. And I was still an English major at that time, but while we were painting in the studio, getting ready for like our first show and stuff, one of the guys was working on some of his stuff on the side, and I was just kind of looking at him and asking him some questions. And he was creating stuff, and that was
Yeah.
his job. And I was like, what do you do? What is that called? And so I ended up switching my major to graphic design or visual communications.
Oh wow. Did you have any prior professional art training? Like, did you take classes in high school and all that?
I mean, I,
Or are
I
you pretty much self-taught?
I'm pretty much self-taught. I took a couple, like, there's this um university, or it's a private university over here, Academy of Art. There you go.
Okay.
Academy of Art over here in San Francisco, where they had like a high school art experience. So I took like a couple classes in the summer, which is like basic composition, and then that was it.
Okay.
As far as like figuring out like art supplies and stuff, it was like a dream that had started with Bob Ross in like the studio apartment we lived at.
Yeah.
I would just watch him and be like, man, I'm
So is
gonna do
painting
that.
you like your chosen medium? Or
I
at that
mean,
time it was?
yeah, yeah, at that time it was. And I remember trying it like throughout the years with those weird bad watercolor sets.
Yeah.
I would still try to do like his techniques, and it just wasn't working out. I was like, I don't know why mine is
Happy
not working
trees.
out.
Happy
Yeah,
trees.
the happy trees, except he's doing it on a canvas with oil. I'm doing it with like cheap watercolors on copy paper, you know.
Yeah.
um but yeah, I met him, ended up like learning I could make a career out of creating things,
Yeah.
graphic design. And I was doing that, but um I learned once I got into it professionally that it just wasn't like sparking anything for me as an
Okay.
artist. I was able to use that creative side to like problem solve and stuff, but I lost that part where I was creating for myself.
Mm.
I ended up having like, clients or a boss or
Yeah.
a brand that I had to create for versus like
Yeah.
just like whatever was in my head.
Yeah. So then tell me about that transition from losing that joy to finding to channeling it into something different and new.
Yeah. So with that art collective, we had that studio, we would do some shows, and I like the creativity was just like popping off for me. And
Okay.
then slowly we lost the gallery. We like slowly started doing our own stuff. And I started to concentrate more on like graduating and getting a job and becoming like this professional adult. And I had to prove to my family I can make it, not in the medical field. So I was like, I'm gonna just like blow them away. I'm gonna make more than a nurse. Like,
That was gonna be my next question because I'm
yeah.
sure, what did mom, dad,
Oh.
titas, did they approve? Like, how was that? What was
So
that like?
I told them that I wanted to go into college to be an English teacher. And they're like, oh, do
Oh,
you
so they were already a little bit like,
yeah, they were like, "Oh, are you sure they don't really make a lot of money?" I'm like, "It's not for the money, mom. It's my passion."
yeah,
Just this little passionate kid, and just um, they were like, "Well, you don't have to be a nurse. You don't have to deal with patients. How about a farm tech? How about they're just throwing out all these other ideas." It's like, no. And
yeah.
then I was like, okay, I had to have the talk. I want to switch my major.
Mm.
And what are you gonna do? I'm gonna do design. And they're like, uh,
So it was difficult. It was kind of hard for them to process that and accept it.
they've they've always been supportive of everything. I mean,
Okay.
they rightfully. I mean, now as a parent, I do get I do understand the worry of like their future and things like that. But they never stopped me. They were
Mm.
always supportive, like, "Are you sure?" And okay,
Yeah.
if that's what you want to do, go ahead. And like, I mean, to this day I'm not even really sure my mom can explain what my day job is.
Yeah.
But
Right.
she's like, yeah, she's
Yeah.
okay.
Awesome. Man, crazy. I feel that. Feel
Yeah.
that in every way. So, okay, we're creating you got a renewed vibe. Oh, I don't think we finished up that renewed vibe. So, you weren't too happy with painting. So, I would assume you got into the digital medium because that's what most now artists. I know I was getting into I was in the comic book game for a bit. And you'd have like 11 by 17 pieces of paper, graphite, inking and all that. But now we transferred to tablets and all of that. And I never made that transition. I was more so the writer. And well, I started I was drawing, but then went to the writer route. And then I still do breakdowns in blue line pencils every now and then when I really want to emphasize a piece in my script. But for you, making that change, and I would assume from like the painting style to watercolors and then taking that to being on a tablet and all that, what was that like? And can you talk on
Yeah.
that?
I actually didn't make it till very for this book. um
Oh, okay.
yeah, so at the time when we had that studio, I was painting with acrylics.
Okay.
and I just love that. And then I started messing around with like different surfaces. I started like trying a little bit of like wood burning in like, oh, this is like over 10 years ago.
Mhm.
10 years, yeah. And again, like I said, once I got into my career, it just kind of stopped. So what I was left with was mostly like sketchbook, pencil, pen. And so that's something that stayed consistent, is like if I didn't know what to do, or I felt like I was in a slump, even at work, I
Mhm.
would take myself away and just start like drawing, sketching. When I would commute to work, I would just like be a creep and like try to like hide while I'm looking at strangers, like try not to overly stare
Yeah, yeah,
and just
yeah.
like draw people. And then I mean, I had a graphic tablet from before, and I had messed with it. Um, but I just like couldn't really dive into it for
Yeah.
some reason. Like
I
I
tried
didn't,
to. I couldn't get
yeah,
into it.
I didn't understand it enough, I don't think. The way it was then. Like because back the tablet I had was a old Wacom tablets that I got secondhand from like another artist friend. And so I was
Yeah.
looking at a screen, drawing here, and I was just like, I cannot do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until
Same.
like I got an iPad to go um figure it out with this book. And then that's when I was like, okay, I think I could kind of mess around, do this, and it's still a learning process. And I'm like, okay. And so now I'm just trying to mentally think of it as like this digital sketchbook. Like I have sketchbooks. When I'm out with my daughter in my diaper bag, she's 2, so I have a diaper bag. I
Yeah.
have this little moleskin sketchbook that I have that I'll just like, and like a pen that I keep.
Yeah.
And if she's napping or whatever, I'll like do a quick drawing, or I have a nicer sketchbook here if I'm like just wanting to really sit down and mess around with something or an
Mhm.
idea. Or sometimes like if I have none of those around me, but I have my iPad, or I just don't want to take out all my materials,
Yeah.
I just grab my iPad now and I use it like a sketchbook.
Yeah.
And it's just like drawing really rough like concepts and stuff,
Yeah.
even notes. So
Oh
like I'm
man,
trying
yeah,
to
no,
mentally.
I got a note phone specifically so I could use
Oh,
the stylus pen to do that, but then I still didn't draw as much as I thought I would,
I
because
know,
I couldn't
you
get
want
the,
to.
yeah, it's hard.
I know. See, with that too, that's why I've always had like a little notebook or like a little sketchbook that's like travel size for that, to write stuff with, or like to sketch something quick out.
Yeah. I'm a traditionalist.
Yeah.
That's
I
just what I
mean,
grew up on.
yeah, and then after I had like put this book out to print, I put my like iPad down and I started really painting again. So
Yeah.
I picked up the acrylics again, and now I'm painting.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. I love that. There's just something special about that real seeing it come to life right there. And it's tangible. Like, you
Yeah.
can put it up on the wall. And because if
Yeah.
a lot of
And
these digital casts, then you're mounting a TV, and then you're putting it on a USB and throwing it up there through that. Like, nah, I'm old school like that. There's
yeah,
something,
and your eyes hurt.
yeah, right?
Your eyes hurt. Like I don't need to be on a screen 24/7 like that.
Heck
But
yeah.
like I just so yeah, I just started painting again, and I remember like loving how it felt to get my hands dirty with some of the paint,
Yeah.
like scrubbing it off in the sink, and you know,
Hell yeah.
all of it.
Hell yeah. All right. I love that. I'm with you on that through and through. So we're now post college. We found this amazing art tribe. We're finding our love again for this artistic medium. Let's talk about how Who Turned on the Sky came about. Was this your first dive now doing art for yourself? You're doing art as a career. But is this your first pass? What brought this on to now create for you, and or not just, I would assume this because this is a children's book and you have an amazing daughter, right? Like how did this all come about?
So in college I was taking that mythology class, and that's when I kind of started questioning our stories, like our history, our stories, all of it. What did our ancestors believe in? And back then it was really because when I was in college, like Twitter was in maybe beta towards the end. So it was kind of hard trying to find those resources. And so like I would find things here and there and like kind of hold on to it. I'd find like what certain symbols mean here and there and kind of hold on to it. And that kind of just has been happening over the last decade of my life. And consistently, like just I've always collected books and just read whatever I could. And um when the I mean, I had an idea to put something together. I just didn't know how. And then I was pregnant and I had this idea and I didn't really tell anyone. I didn't tell my wife. I didn't tell anyone. And then my daughter was born January 2020. 2 months later, the world shut down and I was in a weird mental spot. I
Yeah.
was in a weird mental spot. And I think it was one of those things again where I had to go back to art, or I had to go back to something that was kind of like a pillar for me, my culture, my history, my art. And I was like, man, what is that? I got to revisit that idea. I was like, well, what can I do? I don't know what to write about. And it was literally like every night of like holding or like putting her down for a nap or just like having fun with like my newborn. I'm thinking of this idea. And then finally, when I was like, had my idea like pretty fleshed out, that's when I went to my wife and I was like, hey, I kind of have this idea. What do you think of it? It's like, yeah, that'd be cool. And she's very mellow. Like her reactions to everything is like very mellow, you know? So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm a very passionate, excitable person. And I'm like, what do you think about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Okay. And it's like, yeah. I was like, well, I'll make it for my daughter's name is Amaya. I'll make it for Amaya then. And
Uh-huh.
then like it'll just be her little book. Yeah, that'd be cool. Okay. And then again, like it's still like such a big idea. I already had a bunch of notes all over my phone and
Uh-huh.
like little like things I'm reading on my own, you know, because there was a little bit of like embarrassment
Yeah.
kind of like venture off into this
Yeah.
in the beginning, even though like my wife supports literally everything. Even when I was in a slump, she's out here getting me like paint and canvases and stuff. And it's like, I don't know what to do with it. I don't paint anymore, you know?
Yeah.
um and then I told some of my cousins and I told my brother and they were like, yeah, you should just make that into a book. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, okay. So you know, like your cousins are your best hype man.
Yes.
So, and especially my family, they just like will hype you up for anything. So I
Let's
thought
go.
like, okay, yeah, you know what? I will make it. And so I just started like really, that's when I started really diving in and I started joining uh like children's book seminars or webinars online
Uh,
and because I had the time.
yeah.
Like I had my job and I work remote from home now, but because of that I have the time. I don't have this commute. I don't have,
Yes.
you know, as much restrictions to access, and all of these things are all virtual now for everyone else too.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to connect with this other amazing Filipino author, Justine Villanueva.
Hey, shout
uh
out.
yeah, she did a webinar and she talked about, you know, the disparities with representation in children's books and how many are actually written by Asian Americans, or you know, just the numbers behind everything, the data
Oh
behind
yeah.
everything. And
Yeah.
she said at the end, like, okay, yeah, pretty much just hit me up if you guys are interested in, if you have any questions on your publishing journey. And so I did. I just was like, okay, I'll write her an email. This is like, I want to learn this. And so she jumped on a Zoom call with me and just kind of helped me figure out like traditional publishing, self-publishing,
Yeah.
helped me kind of like navigate self-publishing, just threw a bunch of resources my way.
Dope.
And she also had crowdfunded her books.
Yeah.
And so she kind of just, she was the one who I told her like I'm a little bit embarrassed to ask for money. I'm a
Yeah.
little bit
Yeah.
scared it won't get funded, and I'm just gonna throw myself out there, make this video, and
Yeah.
you know, pour myself out there in this vulnerable space.
Would you say that was the hardest part of it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because the imposter syndrome, like, who am I to be writing this, right?
Yeah.
But she, one of the things that stuck was she told me, well, your community, like, because I asked her, how do I get this out there, how do I get other people to fund this? And he goes, um your community, if that's your family, if that's your friends and they fund it, like if that's the only people who fund it. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, let's see what this community could do. And
Yeah.
it did amazing.
Yeah.
It did amazing.
Let's go. I love
Yeah,
it.
so yeah, it's insane. It's insane.
It's
It's still
beautiful, right?
overwhelming. It's
Right?
still,
I feel you. I feel you. It's so crazy. It's like, man, I've been in this acting game, producing game for so long. And then like man, and finding us when you find our people. Oh, you're Filipino too? Oh
Yeah.
man, yo, let's become friends. We're the best of friends. And
Yeah.
yeah, and it's cool. And then pandemic for me, I don't know. You've been tracking with ShoPowSho and you know a little bit about us, but like it's when pandemic came, I'm like right before that, I wasn't really doing a Filipino-centric thing, but it was always a dream to do something. And here we're now, pandemic, end of the world. You know what? That thing I've been always wanting to do, we're all gonna die anyway. We're the end of the world. Let's do it now. But it, and so now doing like this, and now having meeting you and so many other amazing people by doing this has been just so rewarding. And knowing that there's our culture out there, but you've got to, like you said, you just got to do it. Like you just got to do that Kickstarter campaign, and then whether I'm just doing it for my friends and family, you know, then that's fine. At least I did it. I did something that I've always had in my heart, in my soul. But then you've come to find out that there's others that have always been wanting this product, and you found that out for yourself. It's so beautiful and so rewarding and amazing.
Yeah.
I love that for you, homie. I love
Thanks.
that.
And there's really no other way to do it than putting yourself out there.
Yes.
So I'm gonna turn it around.
No worries.
Do you think the pandemic, like the whole end of the world feeling that everyone had, do you think that's why you decided to finally go after this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real talk. Real talk. And as much as we talk about how sad and bad it was, which it was, like I haven't seen a lot of people in for so long, you know. It's only recently, like this past year, once I've got all my shots. Everybody go get your shots, go get your boosters. I'm pro all of that. That I'm now doing stuff and going out. You know, I finally went on vacation like a little after San Diego Comic-Con. Went out to San Diego Comic-Con. I went out to there.
Oh yeah, Comic-Cons are back.
Yeah. And yeah, now just, you know, doing more and feeling a little bit more. And just there's just like so much creative energy going now. But if not for the pandemic, I wouldn't have done ShoPowSho, wouldn't have become part of this Filipino actors group. Shout out to the Philippine X Actors of Barcata. Just this our amazing community, and how bad we want to be represented in finding that tribe, finding our people, and just how we really got to start creating for each other. So I think it's amazing what you're doing. I feel there's a renaissance too, in a way, of energy in regards to us as Filipino creatives.
Yeah. I've been seeing like a huge surge, especially since the pandemic.
Yeah.
People are really able to like hunker down and find, again, I think a lot of it has to do with we're forced now to do a lot of this virtually. And then we found out it worked, and we found out the reach, and we found out like, oh wow, there's like millions of Filipinos in Canada that want to connect with the Filipinos in Australia, and all of us want to learn this history and this part of our history. And you know,
it's beautiful, yo. I love it. I
it's
love
so
it.
beautiful.
Yeah. So props to you. Props to you. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Again, like I was telling you earlier, and everybody watching, man, let's continue to show love, and let's erase that crab mentality, because there's that still exists, and there still is that a little bit going on, but I like to think it's slowly eroding away, and we're seeing that we can be successful together. We can all eat at the same time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Totally. Your success, my success is everybody's.
Hell yeah. So I love it. Again, everybody, Who Turned on the Sky is available on Marielle's website and all that. I'll have all of her links in the description below. So that's out there. You put it together. So you were describing how it came to be, and the hardship of putting yourself on camera. That was probably the most difficult part. But then you come to find out that there is an audience for that, and we're ready for it. So let's talk about that. Yeah. So you did all that work. It got funded. And we're now pushing the book. We're talking about the book. Tell me a little bit about that reception, and now where is that energy turning into now? Like, you know, we're obviously pushing this book, but will there be other books? Like, what is the vibe with you, Marielle?
Yeah. So, well, actually, when I had this idea, I had like an idea of just a bunch. I have a list.
It's time to go to work now. Let's go.
I have a list of projects I want to do. Yeah, we funded in a day.
Let's go.
In a day, and then it just kept like going, and then it was overwhelming in like a very like emotional and really good way, but also like, oh shit, I'm on the hook for this.
Now you got to do it.
I was like, oh God. And then yeah, I just got to work. And like funny story. Um because I'm working from home and I have a 2 year old and um my wife still goes to work. Um when she would come home, I would pretend to go to work. So my daughter probably thinks I work nights, but um I would go hide in the car, and that's where I would like write the manuscript. That's where I would like edit, that's where I would draw. And it was just like my wife just knew I needed that like alone, quiet, away from like um any of the mess, our
Yeah.
dogs, any
Yeah.
distraction. And she just was like, yeah, let's just give you your space. And I chose the car.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I was just like in the zone doing it and then learning the logistics, and that is a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, finally shipping it out to the backers this week.
Mm.
Put up pre-orders on my website, and people are still pre-ordering. And
So,
they're people are like looking for me and then messaging me on Instagram and being like, hey,
yeah.
can you do this? Or like, is this for like can you come and talk to whatever? Can you
Oh, awesome.
So it's
Yeah.
giving me an opportunity, but to connect
Yeah.
with kids. Because
Yeah.
like after having my daughter, that's when I started like I knew I had this idea and I knew I had something like a passion to work with children.
Yeah.
But after like my daughter's such a bookworm and she memorizes all of her books.
Love it.
And I think like in the middle of creating this book, it
Yeah.
really really sunk in how important it is to start sharing these stories young.
Yes.
Because I know for me, my parents didn't really read me like books per se,
Yeah.
but like my dad, for example, he would tell us stories of his life, like
Mm.
stories growing up in the Philippines, stories of him and his cousins, him and his brothers. And then tell us like he would tell us the story of Lapu Lapu as a bedtime story. He'd be like, so
Mm. Yeah.
and he would just put that out there. He would just tell us any story he could think of. But a lot of it, because of his experiences, were so centered around being Filipino and our culture,
Yeah.
and celebrating
Wow.
my mom because we all immigrated here together. So a lot of their stories that they would just tell us just were so naturally centered around being Filipino.
Yeah.
But what I'm seeing now, like, is that's kind of going away with some of the families in the diaspora. So that's what I kind of want to bring back. It's like,
Hell
how do
yeah.
we have these stories? Because now we're in this mode where we might not tell our personal stories as bedtime stories. We're reading books.
Yeah.
How can we just start getting those books there?
Hell yeah.
Like she's my daughter's my test customer. She's my
Yeah.
first reader of the book.
Yeah.
And uh she's retaining it. She has like these pull-ups with Mulan and Cinderella, and I'm like, hey, I pointed out to her, hey, that's Mulan and Cinderella. Like, no, that's Hanan and Tala. And I'm like,
Oh,
okay.
yes.
You're right, it is.
I love that.
So yeah.
That's awesome. And we got to do this before it dies out, and
Oh yeah.
put it out there. And yeah, we got to
Yeah.
change.
Yeah. And like I said, I have a lot of other projects. What I'm doing now, a lot of, and I'm posting some of it on Instagram, is I'm learning more stories and figures of mythology myself from different
Okay.
ethnic groups in the
Yeah.
Philippines.
Yeah.
And while I'm learning about it, I'm starting to do like a deep dive for myself on one figure at a
Mm,
time, and
yeah.
then I kind of process it through my art.
Yeah.
And like it's been digital just because it's been easier, but it's starting to move to actual painting. The more and more I'm starting to go back to that.
Wow.
And so these children's with my children's book, I want I want to start introducing more in a way that's digestible for children,
I love that.
So that's the goal.
I love that. Oh, and I'm so hungry for that. That girl, you got a fan for life, a customer for life, because that's just what it's all about, and the kind of content that I'm trying to give eventually. Right now, I'm obviously doing this ShoPowSho podcast, but like as a filmmaker, as a writer, I'm doing the legendary Lumpia Squad. Shout out to my Lumpia with the Vengeance folks. Shout out to Patricio Janus, all that squad there. We're introducing some of those Phil Am stuff there, but there's a whole thing I'm trying to do within that universe to bring it back to the Philippines and to that mythology and culture. So I'm doing that through some other projects, but yeah, that's the goal. Like, to me, our Black Panther for Filipinos is that Lapu Lapu story in a way, or
Oh
Gabrielle
yeah.
Salong. Like as that's the stories I want to bring to Hollywood. Is that. So I'm probably gonna be hollering at you and hitting you up since you've been
Yeah.
putting in some of that groundwork already, to just mine you for some story tips and ideas to do it right. But I'm doing my homework as well. We got to, in order for that knowledge and that history to not die and
Oh yeah.
to continue to make it live. So that I'm so hyped for you, and I love that. Please come back as those come along so I can give you love and light and celebrate that. And everybody, cop Who Turned on the Sky, that she has out right now. I love it. So please continue to deliver that. Any pro tips for those maybe other creatives that are watching this that you've learned along your way and doing this that we can put out there?
I mean, kind of like what you said earlier, just do it.
Yeah.
I think that imposter syndrome stops a lot of people, or
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe the fear of vulnerability. Social media has, you know, uh, there's kind of this validation culture, fear of like judgment there, and I'm feeling it a lot right now with it's, the book's going to be out in the wild. What is the reception going to be? But
Yeah.
you also just have to do it, and
Yeah.
then be willing to learn, be willing to ask people, right? Like just hit people up, slide in everybody's DMs and just be like, hey, I had a
Oh
question.
yeah.
Or like comment on everybody's thing, ask questions. I think what I found more often than not is our community and just artists in general, creatives in general. Um, they just want to connect with other creatives. They just want to spread what they know. Um, they want to see more.
Yes.
They want, if the world could just be filled with art, I think creators would love it. Art, music, all of it, all of it.
Hell
And so
yeah.
I think we just need to get over that like fear factor and just ask again, like
Definitely.
kind of like what Justine said, like your community is gonna take care of you, and you got to just trust that.
Yes, yes, yes. I love it. I love that. I love that energy. I love that vibe. And I will give you the cosign. As I told you earlier, thank you. You sent me a reviewer copy. I got the chance to read it from front to back. It's beautiful. It's amazing. I love that you also go into the mythology aspects, and there's that cultural there. That the imagery is beautiful. You dedicate it to Amaya. And so Amaya, you got a lot of work to do as you get older. Because you're the first, you're getting that first pass on those first drafts. So we look forward to you and your mommy creating some amazing tales. I think it's beautiful, and I'm definitely gonna get a copy. And I'm excited, and I thank you for sharing and just again, you're a lot of us are doing stuff for like right now and older stuff, but that it's that young, it's the youth, that generation that needs that early appreciation of this content, and you're delivering that. So I think that's just absolutely amazing, and I'm so thankful for you, Marielle. Amazing, 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 amazing. I love it. Last question before I let you go. I could talk with you forever, and again, like I said, I'm gonna probably mine you for like as I'm working on these other concepts and ideas, and I shouted out a little bit earlier before some of the stuff I'm working on, but I'm gonna be hitting you up. But last question is our nerd question. Before I forget, I hope you know this one because you've watched the show before. If you were to give like a nerd TED style talk on anything, what would it be? And obviously, you can't use Filipino mythology because we know you already know
Yeah,
all about
yeah.
that. Arts, Sailor Moon. I already say Sailor Moon. What do you know that a lot of people don't know that you could really talk on?
Oh, what do I know?
A
Man,
secret knowledge thing that
what is my
maybe
secret?
even your wife doesn't know that you know, but you can get real heavy. You could, go to task on somebody
Oh
with it.
man, you know, my life, you know what? Actually, very, I mean, I don't know if this counts because it's still kind of art related,
Okay.
but man, I've been geeking out on Frida Kahlo lately. And
Okay.
I mean, I always knew she was dope and I appreciated her work and I understood why she was like really known for the work she did, but I don't know what it is. Recently, it's just been calling to me. And I went through a deep dive. I'm like this deep in documentaries and stuff on her because
Yeah.
just as a person, like
Yeah.
her letters, I think I'm just obsessed with her as a person too. Her
Uh-huh.
art is something, but she has these crazy letters that are just out there, that she's written to people she's known, and she is an insanely interesting woman. Man, I would bow down to her.
Okay.
She is
I feel that.
insane.
I remember Salma Hayek as a filmmaker guy did I don't know what auto
Frida
film
movie, the
playing
biopic.
her, and
Yeah.
I wanted to see it, but I never got around to it.
Oh my
But I was like,
God.
oh, I could see that.
Yeah. My wife is Mexican, and just her role in the like Mexican Revolution, and like
Oh yeah,
her role specifically in the arts, and how she depicts herself. And oh man, I'm all about like these revolutionary time periods,
yeah.
and it's just insane. Like her work, whew, everything. She no one can write a better biography than Frida can on herself.
I love that, and I respect that, and I'll take an opportunity to promote Frida Kahlo. So
Oh,
that's an accepted answer. I love that.
love her. Sorry, I'm just like this deep in her right now that that's the only thing that it's either that or PBS.
I
That's my
feel
world.
that. All right. Well, there you go, y'all. Marielle Atanacio. I hope I'm getting
Yes.
said that right. I can brutalize names, but this was truly a pleasure. Everybody cop Who Turned on the Sky. Again, I'll have the links in the description below. But for those that might be checking this out, because I know a lot of people listen to my podcast while driving on their commute. Thankfully, I'm just like Marielle, where I only have to commute 3 days out the week, but most times I'm at home teleworking. So for those that may be listening to this on their ride, Marielle, how can they check you out online? Let's throw some of the links, socials out there.
Follow me on Instagram. That's where I post a lot of my art updates on this book, Who Turned on the Skies, updates for future books, events. It's at by M Atanacio, by.m Atanacio, and website byatanasio.com. And art, books, all of it's there.
Yes, cop it today. Once you get home, get on your phone or get on the computer, cop it all. Let's support and show love to Marielle. Thank you again. Salamat po for your time. Truly appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. And again, I would love to have you back as you drop these new books, as Amaya puts that stamp of approval on them. Please come back so we can talk about it. And so my audience can pick it up and we could, show you love. So there you go, y'all. That's Marielle. For me, it's the Legend Kuya P on Twitter, TikTok, and IG. And of course, this is the ShoPowSho. ShoPowSho on everything. That's ShoPowSho. And of course, this is the NRW. Follow us at the NRW and at Nerdist Wednesday, where nerds rule the world. We're out of here, y'all. We love y'all. Mahal kita. Salamat. Hey.
Hi, everybody. My name is Marielle Atanacio, author and illustrator of Who Turned on the Sky. Watch me on ShoPowSho, talking with Kuya P about a little bit about myself, my background, and my new book. Hope to see y'all there. Hi, everybody. My name is Marielle Atanacio, author and illustrator of Who Turned on the Sky. To me, being Filipino means honoring my ancestors. It means passing on what I know about being Filipino, all the good parts. And it means sharing my love. We as Filipinos have been known to be passionate and big lovers. So it's all about loving each other, loving my kababayan, and sharing.